Good morning. Today is Thursday, January 27th, and our message today is, I know I can be as successful as I make up my mind to be. Cannot argue with that. Today, we're going to do a funnel spread. We're going to fall down Alice in Wonderland's rabbit hole as we cast our cards and ask just some fun questions around the main characters of Alice in Wonderland. You know, really altered the landscape of children's books and just fantasy fiction. So we're going to look at those themes and characters to shed light on our personal lives. So here we go. Let's see. So we're going to start with the rabbit hole. What adventure is calling me? Oh, interesting. We have the Hierophant. Let's see if I move it over here. That might look a little better. So, you know, the adventure that's calling you, it's interesting because the Hierophant, to me, really sort of symbolizes the opposite of some crazy, out of control adventure, and more that you're being called to take a more seated position. Maybe you tend to be somebody that's a little bit about the rabbit hole and the adventure and the unknown, and so the opposite end of that is not living by the seat of your pants, but instead the adventure right now is calling you to take a seat, to be grounded, to be steady, rooted, committed, loyal, and maybe take a little more time in deciding your next move instead of being too flighty about it. Interesting. Let's see. Pool of Tears. What is making me sad? 5 of Pentacles. So it's interesting because if the adventure is asking you to be grounded and seated, and the adventure is of a more stable commitment, what's making you sad is a loss of something tangible. So there's something you lost that's tangible. It could be a relationship. It could, be somebody in your family, a close friend. It could be your home, your job. It could be that you lost your favorite bracelet. It's something, you lost something tangible, and that is making you sad. And I'm getting the message that, in light of this Hierophant being the card of what is your adventure, and it's, this is a different type of adventure. It really is speaking to an opposite energy than what you are. So if, like I said, if you're typically somebody that is high adventure and no planning and very spontaneous, so, something you lost in that way of living your life has brought sadness to you. And so it's not lost forever. And so the adventure you're being sort of drawn to now or pulled towards is more of like I said, a committing to something, committing to something greater than you. So I think there's this, like I said, there's something that was tangibly, something tangible that was lost. And you're in a pool of tears over this. And so this adventure right now is really to sit in your feels and really try to figure out what got you here, right? So what message must I receive? The White Rabbit. So this is 6 of Wands energy. So the message you need to receive here is that there is victory at the end of this whatever's going on here, whatever was lost, it has brought you sadness, what's made you, and I am getting a sense that it isn't lost forever. Like there's still a possibility that you can be reunited with, whether if it's a person or an item, like I said, something tangible, and you can. It's just going to take you making some adjustments so that your adventure is, I'm getting like this message of, like say you were in a relationship, or even say your job, say this was a job situation where your job was a traveling position where you were always, you're home like maybe 3 days out of the week, and you're just always, living out of hotels, and your suitcase was super adventurous, and that was a lot of fun. And now you've been grounded, like you need to work from home, or there's no more travel for a while. And so you're feeling like you've lost something, like you feel sadness over that. But this energy, excuse me, of taking on this new adventure that's not so mobile, but that is just centered and grounded in one place, while it's causing you some sadness, the message to receive is that there is gains and there is a victory to be had in this scenario as well, just as much, right? It's a balanced victory, that while, that you're good, the message is you're not losing out on all that other fun. This is just a different type of fun that you can experience, a different adventure that you'll experience. And it's the same thing with, if this was a relationship, maybe, you liked having your own place and still doing your own thing. And so maybe there's some sadness in that. Maybe your person said, it's time, like, let's live together, or let's take this to the next level. And you were, sad at some of your freedoms that you would be losing, but then you realize that it's an adventure worth taking. And the message is that there is victory in that as well. There's great success and some adventure and fun and new passions and new curiosities to be had in this new adventure. So Ellis's size changes. What is changing in your life? Two of Wands. So it, like I said up here, right? I love when I say we, it's just me here. Two of Wands is, so what is changing in your life? Well, it's that you have two really victorious options. Continuing to live the way you have been, very free and loose and independent, maybe, like just about you and nobody else. And something tangible is going to be lost if there aren't some changes made. And we see that it's still a positive outcome if those changes happen. What this Two of Wands represents and what is changing is giving you have two roads. They're both going to be, successful and fun and adventurous. And there's a lot of passion and creativity and success in both roads. There isn't a bad outcome, but there is a choice to make. So what's changing is that you see that, that there is a change, and it is two sort of opposite ends of a spectrum. So the change is going to be really, it's in your hands, like for you to make a decision, and you're really faced with that right now, which is part of what's making you sad, that you need to possibly change something to continue along this road, or change it by letting it go and then starting something totally different. Both successful, both your decision to make, which is a good place to be, because it isn't that someone else is forcing you into these changes. And the changes, like I said, are resulting in a tangible loss of something, but there are the gains to be made in other areas. So that is why it's important to note that the choice of change is up to you. It's not that someone is forcing your hand. You get to make this decision. So games afoot, what new rules, are you learning? The Wheel of Fortune. Awesome. So what you're learning in this current situation of these changes that are afoot, right? These game changers and what's going on. You're learning that what you thought might have been finalized and done, like I said, if this is a job, like you love what you do and you love the fast pace of it, and you had sort of made you had settled nicely into the pace of your life, career-wise, personal life, health, everything, in all areas of your life were good. And that isn't changing, but the scope of how those things get lived and how they get enacted day to day is changing. And there's a part of you that maybe felt you've done things in a linear way. Maybe you followed a certain trajectory. And so there was a part of you that was like comfortable in knowing how everything was. And then that was the end of it. And so what you're sort of, the rules you're learning is that even, the rules you're learning are that even when things are really good, change isn't bad, isn't necessarily bad. And the Wheel of Fortune reminds us that, life isn't linear, it's cyclical, and we're continually, going up and down, like a Ferris wheel. And we don't know where we're going to be at any given moment. And and you can be on top and not like that feeling, or you can be in the middle and really enjoy that. So it feels different for different people. And so what you're learning in this new adventure for you is this real, like I said, it's just almost this feeling of settling down that you were almost not even against, but you're just not familiar with it. And so you were like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm going to live in this other way, and it's perfect for me. I have everything I need. But something has shifted. And it's like I said, you still have the choice. It's still up to you. It's still a great outcome. While the loss is tangible, it isn't forever sort of loss. It's something that it's just a loss of a particular way of doing the thing that's providing you this tangible result. And so in that shift, there are going to be changes and there is a loss, but it's fleeing, and the energy that anchors it is much more steady and long term. And so it's just a rule that you're just learning this new way of like, okay, this is still good too. And there's a part of you that's almost fighting against that because you like the way things were. And this is just Spirit's way of saying that, you got to roll with it and go up, the ups and the downs. And in the end, like, if you stay your path and who you are there, and you take comfort in knowing that you're making these decisions, the victory is still there. Like, the outcome is still positive. It's just showing you that there are other sides and other ways to do, the things that you have been doing and the way that you've been living, so this is really just sort of, it's funny because even though the Hierophant is this very all-knowing, very grounded energy, in this particular reading as the adventure, it's interesting how on opposite ends of a spectrum, and how the wheel is turning for some, like that grounded energy of settling down, of roots, grounding to the earth and then blossoming from there, and not being so nebulous and moving around, can be an adventure if you never expected that was going to be your outcome. But the wheel also reminds us, one of those lessons, or those rules I should say, to learn, is that it can also change down the line again. So Cheshire Cat, let's see, who is your spirit guide? Let's see who you have as a guide. Ooh, the Knight of Cups. So your guide is represented through masculine energy, very heart-centered, very emotionally mature. So it could be a deceased loved one that maybe comes to you in dreams, in visions, or or through your dreams they communicate, and very you would recognize this person just from their personality, somebody that was very loving, very nurturing, very paternal in their way of taking care of you, and that they were or they are now as a guide very emotionally mature and can definitely hold you up when you're feeling down, or where you're feeling like some of this stuff is hard to handle. You have this spirit guide that is coming to you in your dreams. That is I would say, if you're somebody that frequents if you live near water, or if you have an affinity towards water, even if you don't live near water, but if you love that, anytime you get the opportunity, you want to go to a lake or an ocean, a river, that calls you to it, that's, part of your spirit guide, talking to you, sending you messages, I would say, if you take baths, when you're in the shower, those are times where they can come in with messages. Look out for synchronicities when you're in those situations. Maybe you have the radio on, a song might come on, that's them communicating. Definitely in your dreams or through your dreams, you might even meet and talk, or they come with messages. So, and like I said, it's a very, it is a masculine energy, a very paternal, father-like, uncle, older brother, type of energy that is your spirit guide. So if that resonates with you, maybe you know exactly who we're talking about here. The Mad Hatter. What insanity must you rid from your life? The Knight of Pentacles. Yeah, it really does seem like there was something lost of material value to you. So an insanity that you must rid of your life. This Knight of Pentacles is representative of very slow moving energy. So here's the message I'm receiving. Since the adventure that is calling to you is this very, you know, like I keep saying, and I don't know how you interpret this, but when I'm saying like the message of this adventure is to settle down, I hope that doesn't bring up any kind of like a negative connotation there. It's not meant to be that way. It's settling down in a really positive way. And it's going to resonate to however it is to each person. But because that's the adventure, is this calling to settle down, make commitments, you know, maybe it's like buy a home or purchase a car, like get a loan of some sort that you're working towards and you're paying off, that, you know, there is, like I said, this sadness, this loss of something. And so it could be that by living, you know, really sort of fast and free, maybe you weren't saving money. And so that wasn't something you were even thinking about. But if you are buying a home or a car or signing a lease to a place, now you have to start thinking about, oh, I have to make sure I have money to pay this if something comes up, like needing to save or plan a little bit more for something in the future. And so that is causing this sadness. So this sort of insanity that you must rid yourself from is this idea that any part of settling down is going to slow you down so much that you won't be able to have any of the adventures that you're used to. Or that, you know, by slowing things down in this way and, you know, making these more, you know, sort of quote unquote grown-up decisions and choices, and accepting that, you know, life is, you know, ups and downs, the ebb and flow and all of that, like there's a part of you that's really fighting against that. And so the Knight of Pentacles is just reminding you to rid yourself of those thoughts that settling down or taking things at a pace or planning or having patience or any of those things are negative. And so the more you push against that, it's like, you know, when you keep, you know, what's the definition of insanity? You know, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So in this sense, the Mad Hatter is saying, you know, rid yourself from this energy, this assumption that by planning, being pragmatic, you know, settling down or, you know, establishing roots somewhere, having more, you know, more of a commitment mindset, you know, or having patience to watch your efforts, you know, take root and really ground to blossom, like all of those steps, like get rid of this notion that slow and steady is something to fear, and rid your life from that. Instead, you want to embrace that slow and steady is just another way to do things, and it will be successful for you. Also, not just functioning, you know, don't be afraid to, you know, listen to your guide that's coming from a very heart-centered space, and grounding so that you're a little less stuck in your thoughts. So the Knight of Pentacles is just, you know, a reminder to rid from your life this notion that there's something wrong with being, you know, comfortable or being content. Like there's nothing wrong with being content. It shouldn't equal boring. And so you need to get that sort of, it's like a different mindset to be able to see all facets. Queen of Hearts says, how do I bully myself? 10 of Wands. So you self-impose, you overburden yourself. It's how you bully yourself by overburdening with logistics to things that are happening in one way. And really the energy is coming in really strong that it has to do with, again, this notion that things have to be really, yeah, gosh, there's like so many words coming in. I can't say them as fast as I'm hearing them. So if your inspiration has always come in like lightning bolts. And so when you get hit by one of those moments of inspiration and creativity, you overwhelm yourself with how you're going to navigate it and get through it and do all of this stuff like in the moment right now. And that becomes it's harmful. You're not, maybe it gets you so you can like stay awake a lot and not sleep. You don't take care of yourself. You're not sleeping, eating, or drinking enough water. You're not socializing. Like you just go all in on something so much that it's like you bully yourself, because you're so into wanting this one thing to work. And so that's why this adventure that you're stepping into is the opposite. It's all about embracing, this Knight of Pentacles, right? So you need to rid your mind that this is a bad energy. It's about accepting that things come up and down and you can change, and that's okay. I'm thinking I mean, like just an anecdote would be that I had a career and a job and a whole thing for 15 years. And then I didn't want to do that anymore for multiple reasons. And then I started doing something else. And, that's been like a decade. And now I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do something else. And it's not that I lack in this energy of making commitments and settling down and all of that. But there's also this energy, right? That we can move and shift and try new things. And that's okay. But we shouldn't, not at the detriment that we need to go so hard that we're like our own bullies because we're carrying so much that's self-imposed. And there's no need for that if we, listen to our guides, take what they're offering, really going from that space in our heart, that authentic space, and we rid ourselves of like the sadness of what we may lose tangibly for a brief moment, and embrace the energy of slow and steady instead of wanting to live in this really fast-paced wand energy that we end up causing ourselves more harm than good, and really like weighing heavy on ourselves, and when we don't need to and we can choose otherwise. Alice's sister, what is my greatest source of comfort? Oops. Let's see. 9 of Pentacles. Oh yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So your greatest source of comfort is your independence, is your ability to provide for yourself, to you work hard, you know, everything you have, you've earned, you've worked for, no one has handed it to you, you've accomplished your you know, your lifestyle has been accomplished and merited by you. And so that really independent, fierce position of resourcefulness that does translate to material resources, that's a great comfort to you. And I will say that's a great place to be, but right under the 2 of Wands, you know, independent of the questions or how this works, you know, this 2 of Wands, but this 9 of Pentacles that is a choice. And so you have chosen this life and to be on your own, to be independent, to do all these things by yourself. And so it's hard then to want to embrace this Hierophant energy that is like, maybe we need to, yes, you're in a pentacle, yes, you're grounded, but you're very independent about, and like almost one-sided to how you got there. And this is reminding you, you know, as a source of comfort, it is yourself. You just don't want that to be ego driven. You want to be able to embrace more of a community space. And I think that's something to really think about. What is coming into your, you know, through your dreams? What sort of synchronicities are you seeing out there that really speak to something that's deep in your heart, like a really authentic view of a like lifestyle? And to think about how this 10 of Wands is just so heavy and so burdened. And right above it is the 6 of Wands, which is the opposite. It's like victory. You've accomplished a thing, and it's still wand energy. So it's creative, it's passionate, it's curious, but it's victorious. It's like a parade of joy that they're marching into. And so remember that when your greatest source of comfort, there is comfort in knowing that we can stand alone and not feel lonely and feel embraced, really seated. And this is very positive, rooted energy in self. In this spread, as we're thinking about falling down the rabbit hole and what that means in terms of our current adventure that's calling to us and what we find along the way, it is representative that if that is your greatest comfort, is yourself and your strength, yes, that's great, but it's also asking you to make sure to not put up so many barriers because you're so comfortable being alone and you're so resourceful and you've seen everything that you've been able to do by yourself, that you don't block out the option of having a partner or a community, other people in your orbit that can also add and provide to this great energy of this Knight of Pentacles. So yes, it's really a good place to be and to feel that powerful about yourself. And I think that's the goal for all of us. Today's message was, I know I can be successful as I make up my mind to be. So we know that we do function from that singular space, but this is reminding us that while we do that pentacle on earth, we have the only power to change our life and to do things, and all of that is just us. There is a caveat to that, and that is, we have spirit guides. We're still part of the world, and other people live here as well. So we want to make sure that our greatest source of comfort, there's something beautiful knowing that we rely on self, just not to the detriment that we become so isolated that we don't see the opportunity to welcome others into our space, because then we could be missing out on a whole other layer of life, which is, what the Wheel of Fortune is reminding us, as well as this Knight of Cups, which is interesting because I think I've been calling him the King of Cups, and it's really the energy that I got was well, I guess that would make sense because knights are messengers. And so I was just thinking that your message is funny because I was thinking in terms of the dream state and the synchronicities, that those were messages you were receiving. But now I think I was calling him a king. And like I said, I think it's just a really paternal, a very strong masculine energy that's coming through as this messenger of cups. And our last question is, Wonderland, how can I make my life extraordinary? Extraordinary life for you. Oh, it's so funny. We were just saying 2 of Cups. So the way you can make your life extraordinary is by accepting another person into your fabulousness. And 2 of Cups, it is the cup of like so the soulmate cup, having your perfect mirrored self, your match, your ideal match. It's typically associated with a romantic relationship. A lot of time, it can also represent that full unity with yourself. I don't believe that's the message here. It might be for one person, but really the general message is that you already are. You are this, you find great comfort and you're happy with yourself and you've lived that life. What this 2 of Cups here under the Wheel of Fortune is, don't ignore or don't take out the option because you're so fabulous here. But we do see that you can overburden yourself. Again, all these things are just you. So what this is saying, and especially like I said, under the Wheel of Fortune, is that to make your life it's fabulous. If you want to make it extra amazing, don't rule out the possibility of having a partnership that walks this life journey with you. And so, you know, someone to jump in the rabbit hole with so that you're taking this adventure together, so that you have someone there for when you're feeling sad. And this really could be that. Like, this could be, like I said, there is a message around relationships that if you're the one, or, you know, having the issue of commitment, you're feeling a loss, and it's saying, yes, you can do life alone. You've done that great. You're fabulous. You do tend to overwork yourself a little bit, but you're meeting this choice right now. What do you want to do? And you can definitely be victorious, and you can move away from this sadness and get right back there if you accept making that commitment and taking it to that next step, and great things will follow, because this is who you are. So you will be resourceful and come up no matter what, but why not have someone to share that with? And if this is around career, it's the same thing. Like, open yourself to the possibility of, you know, working with somebody, you know, it's just really about opening up the possibilities of not just having to do things alone, but taking these messages and accepting, you know, the offers of love, of creativity, and all that brings, so that it isn't just the tangible, resourceful thing that you're getting, but how can you make it a full experience by having other people to share, you know, along the journey. And I will stop there, and I think there's a lot to think about, to be honest. And so I'm going to stop it there so I can process this as well. Have a great January 27th, and I'll see you tomorrow, January 28th.